Hey folks, David Jones here. I'm a robotics specialist with DeLaval. Today we're going to be touring my family's farm in California, where they're milking 800 cows and making the transition over from a flat barn to robotics.
This is my helper today. He'll be coming along with me. He has plenty to say as well. Jones Farms actually began as a turkey farm in the late 1950s. This barn that I'm walking through right now was actually built in 1970, initially to house turkeys, and then in the 90s was remodeled to be housing for cows. My mom and dad started milking on this facility in 1994 in a flat barn. So this is the barn that was built in 1994, and it's a great barn. We can move a lot of cows through it, but the one thing that changed is sourcing labor has always been a challenge. And the guys have to work really hard in here because they have to squat down to the level of every cow. And when you're milking 800 cows 3 times a day, that's a real big challenge. So that was one of the driving factors to transitioning over to robotics. So behind me, you can see 2 VMS Classics. We began milking with these in 2018, and initially, robotics were just an experiment for us. We weren't sure if it was going to be something that adapted well to our farm, to this home, and so we decided to put in 2 units to start, and if it worked, then we would expand. So happy to report that it worked, and the cows have adapted extremely well, and there's plenty of benefits to be had with robotics. Since the Classics were such a success, plans began for Phase 2 and Phase 3. So currently today, in January, we fired up 4 more V300s, so the brand new robots, and we're running right now 16 cows per robot here in these 2 pens, and milking extremely well, averaging over 95 pounds most days, so we're very excited about that. So the next 4 robots at Jones Farms were also retrofits. So there's 2 in each pen in this barn that's right behind me. And then on the other side in front of me, there is a brand new barn that's being constructed where 8 robots will be held. So on the Classics and these 4 V300s that are currently up and running, the design is a free flow design. So there's 2 robots, each pen at the end of the barn that the cows have access to at all times. And it's a very simple and very effective design. Free flow is always going to be an easier option on retrofit because we can put the robots down and get ready to go. Normally, retrofits are always going to be a bit more challenging to work with because when we're designing a robotic facility from the ground up with freestalls, typically there's going to be more square footage per cow than in a conventional freestall barn. And that's to create more opportunities for a cow to get from point A to point B. And give her more opportunities with less barriers to get milked. So free flow, guided flow, both are great options with trade-offs, and there's different solutions that fit every single farm, right? So my only advice is that if you're thinking about a robotic project, make sure you ask lots of questions of your robotic specialists and the farms who are out there doing it. That way you can make a decision with what's going to work well for your farm. So behind me is the barn that Jones Farms is building from the ground up. And this is where 8 robots are all going to be in one centralized location. So half of this barn is currently built, and you can see that there's actually cows that are housed in it right now. And then the other half is currently under construction. So we're hoping that this robot barn will be up and running by the end of summer, but it just depends on how fast we can go with construction. This barn was designed with comfort in mind. Nice big fluffy beds, very wide lanes so cows can get where they need to be without any sort of congestion. And yeah, it's a really great place to be a cow. It gets pretty hot here in California, so of course we have outfitted the barn with lots of fans, also some soakers on the feed lanes. So there's plenty of ways to keep cows cool and comfortable. So in this barn, it will be a fully milk-first guided barn. So what that means is that the rest area, which is over here, is going to be completely separate from the feed area, which is over here. It looks like we've got an audience. But the feed in this barn is on the perimeter. And there will be finger gates on all of the crossovers, which are one-way gates, which when the cows go from feed to rest, the only way back to feed will be through a smart selection gate. So there's a couple really cool benefits to a fully milk-first guided barn. One is that we're pre-selecting cows to get milked. So we're only sending cows to the robot that have milking permission. I looked this morning and we had over 50 refusals per robot. So what that means is every time a cow goes to the robot and she doesn't have milking permission, it's counted as a refusal. So what that does is it eats up box time, valuable time where we could be harvesting milk instead of turning away cows that are just wanting to get some of the grain. So with pre-selection, we're only sending cows to the robot that have milking permission, and we pretty much eliminate that problem of refusals, and we're maximizing the robot's time. The other advantage to pre-selecting cows and to having a separate feed area from a separate rest area is that it reduces fetching. So every time a cow gets up from her bed and goes to eat, she has to pass through a smart selection gate. That gate is making the decision whether or not this cow has milking permission. So if we can get the cow to make this loop around the barn 10 to 12 times a day or more, it makes it very easy to capture the cow 3 times to get her milked. So every time she gets up, we're checking if she has milk permission. That's the only thing that the smart gate does. And it's the only thing that is the difference between a milk first guided barn and a free flow barn. It's just that we're sending cows to the robot that have milking permission. Thanks for joining me and Bourbon on this tour. Hope you enjoyed it.